Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. In this video, the second episode of US Navy history, we will be focusing on the 600-ship Navy strategy that was popular in the 1980s but unfortunately never realized. Please remember to like and subscribe. Alright, let's get right into it. Fact 1. Vietnam cutback. The 600-ship Navy policy was a significant strategic initiative undertaken by the United States in the 1980s, born out of the need to rebuild the U.S. Navy following substantial spending cuts that resulted from the end of the Vietnam War. The policy aimed to dramatically increase the size of the Navy's fleet to 600 ships, a number seen as necessary to address global security challenges and maintain maritime dominance. This ambitious plan, launched during the Reagan administration, sought to enhance the Navy's capabilities for power projection, defense, and sea control. It recognized that a strong naval presence was vital to safeguarding U.S. interests and alliances worldwide. The 600-ship Navy policy had several objectives, including countering the expansion of the Soviet Navy, ensuring freedom of navigation in key maritime choke points, and responding to crises effectively. It involved the construction of new ships, the recommissioning of older vessels, and the expansion of naval bases. While the policy was never fully realized due to budget constraints and changing geopolitical dynamics, it did lead to a significant increase in the Navy's size and capabilities. Alright, let's get into the next fact. Fact 2. Soviet Union impacts. The 600-ship Navy policy was a strategic response initiated during the Reagan administration in the 1980s to address a growing concern over the perceived naval imbalance between the United States and the Soviet Union. At the time, the Soviet Navy held a significant force advantage, with a fleet of surface warships numbering 443 compared to the U.S. Navy's 196. This policy aimed to reassert American naval dominance by dramatically expanding the size and capabilities of the U.S. Navy. The goal was to build a formidable fleet of 600 ships, encompassing a range of vessels, including aircraft carriers, submarines, surface combatants, and support ships. This ambitious plan sought to enhance the U.S. Navy's global reach, power projection capabilities, and deterrence posture in the midst of the Cold War. Significant emphasis was placed on the fact that the U.S. Navy had to both defend the NATO allies in the Atlantic and the Pacific for emerging commercial interests and strategic locations. The Soviet Navy was regularly patrolling around the continental United States from both hemispheres. The 600-ship Navy policy represented a concerted effort to reinvigorate and modernize the U.S. Navy's capabilities. While it faced financial and logistical challenges and was eventually scaled down in the post-Cold War era, the initiative had a lasting impact on American naval strategy. It underscored the importance of maintaining a potent naval force to safeguard national security interests and maintain maritime dominance in an ever-evolving geopolitical landscape. Alright, let's get into the next fact. Fact 3. Not a random number. You might be thinking 600 as a number that was randomly thought up as a sizable fleet, but it was actually carefully estimated. The 600-ship Navy policy was a strategic vision proposed during the Reagan administration in the 1980s, aiming to significantly expand the U.S. Navy's fleet to 600 ships. This ambitious plan was carefully analyzed and calculated, taking into account various classes of ships, including not only combat vessels but also supply and support ships. The rationale behind the 600-ship Navy was multifaceted. It aimed to enhance the United States' maritime presence, asserting naval dominance on a global scale and deterring potential adversaries. By bolstering the fleet's size, the U.S. could respond more effectively to regional conflicts and contingencies while maintaining a strong posture in both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The plan recognized the importance of not only combatants like aircraft carriers, cruisers, and destroyers but also auxiliary vessels, replenishment ships, and logistics support ships. These non-combat ships play a crucial role in sustaining the fleet's operations, ensuring a continuous and reliable flow of supplies, ammunition, and personnel. Ultimately, while the 600-ship Navy policy was not fully realized, it prompted substantial investment in naval capabilities during its era and contributed to the modernization and expansion of the U.S. Navy. It underscored the significance of a robust and versatile naval force. Alright, let's get into the next fact. Fact 4. Almost achieved. The 600-ship Navy policy was a strategic initiative launched by the United States during the 1980s as part of the Reagan administration's efforts to strengthen the U.S. Navy and enhance its global maritime presence. The goal of this policy was to build and maintain a fleet of 600 ships to project American naval power and safeguard national interests around the world. During the height of the Cold War, the United States recognized the need for a robust naval force to counter the Soviet Union's expanding naval capabilities and maintain a strong presence in key maritime regions. The 600-ship Navy policy aimed to achieve this by bolstering the Navy's capacity and capability. While the policy was never quite realized with a peak of 594 ships in 1987, it marked a period of significant naval expansion and modernization. The fleet included aircraft carriers, submarines, surface combatants, and support vessels. However, in the years that followed, budget constraints and shifting global dynamics led to a reduction in the number of active ships. Today, while the U.S. Navy may not maintain the 600-ship fleet envisioned in the 1980s, it remains one of the most formidable and technologically advanced naval forces in the world, capable of protecting American interests and responding to global security challenges. While the 600-ship Navy policy was never fully realized, its influence on modern naval strategy remains evident. Alright, let's get into the next and final fact. Pared down significantly after the Cold War. The 600-ship Navy policy, introduced during the Reagan administration in the 1980s, was a grand strategy aimed at expanding the U.S. Navy's fleet to 600 ships. This ambitious goal was driven by the desire to maintain a robust naval presence and global power projection capabilities during the Cold War. At its peak, the U.S. Navy reached a fleet size of approximately 594 ships in 1987. However, the end of the Cold War brought significant changes to the geopolitical landscape. With the dissolution of the Soviet Union and a decrease in global tensions, there was a reassessment of defense priorities and budget constraints. As a result, the 600-ship Navy policy was deemed economically unsustainable, and the Navy's fleet size began to shrink. The policy was gradually pared down, and the U.S. Navy underwent significant reductions in force structure during the 1990s and early 2000s. Alright, that is it for the video today. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.